Hi, my name's Ryan from JK Adventure. Today I'm going to do a power tank monster valve install. For those of you not familiar with monster valves, what they are is they're large air valves that allow you to deflate and inflate your tires much quicker. For instance, I have 40 by 15.5 inch tires. A little bit larger than most people are running on the trail, but it would take me about a minute and a half to inflate these tires using a pretty fast compressor or my power tank with a conventional valve. And using the exact same method, I can inflate from about 8 psi all the way up to about 25 psi in about 15 seconds. So the monster valves are really fast. It helps you save a lot of time and frustration on the trail, particularly if you're moving to different places to four-wheel, and they have quickly become one of my favorite mods. So follow along as we do the install, but before we start I want to say a few more things about monster valves. They only weigh 1 ounce, so they won't affect your tire balance or anything like that. They take about 10 minutes to install per valve, and it's very simple. I know when I first started looking into it, I was kind of scared off that you have to actually drill into your wheel, but most people don't realize that the metals that are used to make wheels are very soft, and drilling and tapping into a wheel is actually quite easy and not as scary as most people would think. So I invite you to jump into it. I will be using a typical power tank setup with a regular valve. You can do this a couple different ways, and I'm going to get into that and show you a little bit more about the setup as we go. It's also important to note that you don't have to do this with the wheels separated from the tire. It's actually very easy to do the entire process that you see me doing while the wheel and tires are still together. And some people are worried about getting drilling shrapnel left in the tire because there's air pressure. As long as you keep pulling the drill bit out regularly, you don't end up with any drill shrapnel in your tire or wheel because the tire pressure in the air blows it back out. So it works very well just to do the exact same process that you see now while the tire and wheel is still mounted. Your regular power tank setup, I'm going to move in. Mine's got some wear and tear on it. It's not brand new. This is the regulator up top. You're going to turn the valve on, and it's going to tell you how much pressure is in your tank as well as what you are putting into your source. And as you move down, you'll see a couple different gauges and devices. As I mentioned, you can do this a couple different ways. This is the monster valve filler. It's a little bit larger than a conventional valve, but if you would like to, you can go ahead and plug in to the regular valve stem and regulate your pressure as you're filling. So it's one of the few systems on the market that I've seen that you can actually fill up and check your balance as you are filling them up as well. Okay, you're looking at my tool collection here. I've got 2 drills. I prefer the heavy-duty corded one, but you can definitely get away with a smaller one, even a micro drill like pictured. I also have several different tools. I have some kind of thread locker. You can use Loctite, you can use a plumber locker, you can even use tape if you want to. I also have a tap and drill. I like to buy brand new ones, and I went recommended with what Power Tank recommends, which would be a 7/16 drill bit, and then I have 3 other drill bits in order to help make it an easier drilling process, and then a 1/4 inch 18 NTP pipe tap. The pipe tap is the key here. Make sure it's a pipe tap. It's very different from a regular 1/4 inch tap. So make sure you get the pipe tap. And then I also have a couple utensils to make a jig, a measuring tape, and some other things. Okay, I'm going to start out by just making a very simple template. I'm going to start across from the regular one because I want the 2 valves to be across from each other. And I've started by just taking a corrugated piece of cardboard, pushing it flat, and then slicing off the side to get a nice flush mount. And you'll notice that somebody before me has already lined up the holes, so I'm just going to mark where the holes are, and then straight out from where that is, once it's all lined up, I'm just going to take my pen, put a mark there, and that shows me right where I want to be on the V. Then I'm going to take my hole punch, start with the hole punch, and put the punch right there. And the punch is going to help me get started with the drill. Okay, you're going to make sure this is all flat. Hold your drill as flat and level as possible. Okay, I always like to have a vacuum ready so I can vacuum up all the little shrapnel. If you don't vacuum it up right away, it gets everywhere, as some of you guys know. And then we're going to just switch out the bit here. And I step up 4 times all together. So I'm just going to take the small one out, put the next size up. And once that next drill bit's in, you're just going to find your hole and do the same thing again. Okay, we'll go to the third one now. Same thing. And you don't have to push very hard, as you can see. It's just a little bit of pressure, especially if you have a big torquey drill like this. Okay, now before I start this last one, I'll make a note just to say that the last one, it's really important to stay that you make sure you stay perpendicular and parallel so you don't make a bigger hole than what you really need to. So I'm going to spend a little more time really lining this up. I'm going to look right here, line it up, make sure it's perfect. Use my hand as a guide right here and make sure I get it right on. Okay, for this one you just want to apply a little bit of cutting oil. You really don't need much at all. And then you want to make sure you start nice and square. And just keep turning, and then you also want to back off the other way. So you want to go both ways, take a turn, back it off. Take a turn, back it off. So when you're turning it, you can feel the resistance for the most part. As it starts to get really tight, you just want to back off one little step. And do it again. Nice thing about once you get started is you don't have to worry so much about it going in straight. So about one full turn, and then you want to come off about a quarter turn for every full to 3/4 turn. Then once you get pretty deep, you want to back it off. And then we're going to try our monster valve.
What are you talking about?
And you want to screw it all the way in as far as you can go. I'm getting real tight right about there. So I'm probably going to tap it just a little bit more because I've got a little sticking out. Even if I get a wrench on here, I'm going to have a little, so I'm just going to tap it a little bit more. For the last part of the cutting stage, I like to use something with a little more grip on it. And typically when you cut, you want to do 1, 2 turns then come back off about a 1/4 turn, and then go again. So that's 1, 2, come back off, set it, keep going. And you'll feel the resistance. I just forgot and did 3. You feel it right away when you hit that resistance point. Right when you hit that point where, you know, you really got to torque it out, that's where you want to go back the other direction. Alright, I tapped it just a little bit further. I've got some Teflon tape on it. You might also use thread locker. I'd go with the red one if you never plan on taking it out again. The blue maybe if you do. Or pipe thread compound will do the job too. Any of those, when these come, they already come with a little bit of the locker on them, and that one would work. I would suggest using one of these for your tester and then putting it on your spare, or putting new thread tape on it at the end before you get going, since we kind of wore the tape off of there. Now I'm also going to take these down now to the local shop and get them powder coated. So I'm not going to leave this in. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm just going to put a small bolt in the hole there just so they can powder coat around it. So now that we're all done, you can see the finished product. I have my power tank on the right, and I do have the conventional valve hooked up to the pressure gauge, so that if you'd like to see how that works, you can monitor pressure as you fill it up. And then this is the secondary gauge. You don't have to have something attached to the regular gauge. You can just use the monster valve gauge that you can see right there, which honestly is what I do most of the time, and that allows you, as you fill up, to simply stop inserting air, and as soon as you take your finger off the trigger, it gives you an immediate readout. So that's the whole process, start to finish. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, you can find lots more answers on this thread at jk-adventure.com. Have a great day.